Assalamu alaikum. Hello dear students, how are you? Hope this class will find you in good health. Today I'm here to spend some time with you to help you with your English. Okay, let me introduce myself first. This is Aminul Islam, your English teacher, and I'm going to give this class to the students of class 9 and 10, and the subject is English second paper, grammar part, and the topic is changing narrative style part 2. And I will expect that you already have the basic knowledge of how direct and indirect speech as well as reported speech work. If you don't, you are requested to watch the video class of changing narrative style part 1. So go back to that video class and make sure you have the basics of this before you jump to the changing narrative style part 2. So today I'm going to tell you how to report interrogative and imperatives or instructions, and how to report yes or no questions. Okay. uh, and here's an example that we showed in our last class, that here uh, uh, Tom and here Paul and Jack, they're these two persons. Paul is expressing his feeling, I'm feeling ill, and Jack is the narrator. Jack is narrating Paul's feelings to another person, and he says Paul said that he was feeling ill. So it can be a better example to understand direct and indirect speech. And here's another example. You see Tom, who is writing something. So Tom says, I'm very busy now. He's the speaker, and the reporter is David, and the listener is Harry. So David tells Harry at a different time. What David tells Harry? You see, Tom said he was very busy then. Now then. Okay. Uh, uh, and actually, we learned a lot of things, a lot of informations in our last class. So if you miss the part 1 or native skill part 1 or the previous class, please go back to that class and watch the video first. Okay. Let's uh, lesson introducing. Actually, you have already understood changing direct speech to indirect speech, and imperative and interrogative. Yes, changing direct speech to indirect, changing direct speech to indirect, and it's on imperative and interrogative. Okay. What are the learning outcomes? By the end of this lesson, students will be able to change direct speech to indirect speech of interrogative sentences, learn about yes/no questions and WH questions, change direct speech to indirect speech of imperative sentences, identify examples of direct and indirect speech of different sentences. Okay, these are the learning outcomes. You will master these things. Okay, let's proceed on. Yes, see, imperative. So what's an imperative? It's command like stop, don't do that, don't go there, study a lot of English if you want to improve, etc. And instructions, instructions, commands, these are very similar things. But an instruction could be something you read on the cover or back of a packet of things like cookies or noodles, and how to bake or cook it, and also for any medicine and on the manual of any gadgets. Okay. uh, here's an example of imperative. You see, a police is stopping a truck, and now look at the direct speech. The policeman said, "Stop the truck." Here, you see that direct speech uses the exact or same words between quotes. Yes, you see here quotation has been used, and the indirect speech for this can be, the policeman told to stop the truck. Yes, the indirect speech uses the imperative in infinitive. Imperative in infinitive, to stop. Okay. And let's proceed on. You can understand better within short time. Okay. Uh, you see, one example. Here are two persons, Johnny and Shams. Johnny is telling Shams, what? Hello, Shams. Come to my house for dinner tonight. And Johnny says, hello, Johnny. Sorry, Shams says, hello, Johnny. Okay, thanks. I'll be there at 8. Okay, now what Johnny says to Shams is uh, reported in indirect speech. You see, Johnny told Shams to come to his house for dinner. Okay, imperative action in infinitive form. Infinitive form, to come or to go. Okay, and you see, the teacher said, turn to page 106 in your textbook. How do you report this? The teacher said, turn to page 106 in your textbook. How do you report this? Indirect. You see, the teacher told to turn to page 106 in our textbook. Or the teacher told us to turn to page 106 in our textbook. Uh, when you are reporting, make sure you have the use of to plus base verb. Okay, to plus base verb. Remember, to plus base verb. You see, the direct speech, the teacher said, turn to page 106 in your textbook, and indirect is the teacher told to turn, or that means to plus base verb, to turn. Okay, to page 106 in our textbook. Okay, let's move on to the next. So again, if you are reading let's say an instruction manual for your new digital camera or your new phone, and it says charge your phone for 6 hours before first use. I think you all know about this. Charge your phone for 6 hours before first use. And so what does the instruction manual say? The instruction manual says to charge it for 6 hours before first use. To charge it, the use of to plus base verb. To plus base verb. Got it? Charge your phone for 6 hours before first use. The instruction manual says to charge it for 6 hours before first use. So you have to remember that you must use to plus base verb while doing imperative uh, direct speech to indirect speech if it's an imperative sentence. Okay. Imperative sentences express actually order, command, and advice. The word said is changed into tell, request, suggest, permit, ask, advise, warn, remind, force, urge, etc. according to the sense of sentences. Let's see the example. She said to me, get out of my way. She told me to get out of her way. Okay, you got it. You seen we used told instead of say, and to plus base verb, to get. And here are more examples for you. You see during speech, the teacher said to the students, don't waste your time. This one is negative. The teacher advised the students not to waste their time. Don't waste, not to waste. You also find here to plus base verb waste, and as this one was negative, don't, so not has been used before to or before infinitive. So not plus to plus base verb, not to waste their time. And here's a different one. She said to me, please come with me. She requested me to go with her. Please come with me. She requested me to go with her. I think you have the basics, so you know why come is changed to go. Okay, let's see the next one. He said, open the door. He ordered to open the door. She said to him, consult a doctor. She suggested him to consult a doctor. So everywhere you will see to plus base verb. Okay, let's now see. Um, this one is the interrogative sentences. We have already finished imperative sentence, and I think you have understood better because different types of examples have been used to make you understand better. And if you watch the video again and again, and repetition always makes you perfect. Okay, let's now move on to the interrogative sentence. Yes, he said, can I use your phone? He asked me if he could use my phone. Can I use? If he could use your phone, my phone. And here also you see if, a word if. Okay, let's move on to the next. Here's different one. She said, where are you traveling to? She asked me where I was traveling to. This one is quite different. Uh, let's see the first one. Can I use your phone? If he could use my phone. And here, where are you traveling to? Where I was traveling to. Much different from the previous one. Okay, let's see the uh, examples explanation in the coming slides. And also you also notice that here we use asked instead of said. Okay, so change of interrogative sentences. So you notice in the two previous examples what there are two main kinds of interrogative sentences. I think you already noticed, and those starting with an auxiliary verb such as do, does, did, can, could, will, are, is, was, were, etc. These are the auxiliary verbs, and you will find a lot of auxiliary verbs like this. And also those starting with the question words such as what, why, when, where, how, etc. So these are the two main kinds of interrogative sentences. One starts with an auxiliary verb, and a different one uh, starts with a question word or WH word. Okay, we'll know more in our coming slides. You'll see interrogative sentences beginning with an auxiliary verb are changed into the interrogative speech by using the connective if or whether. If or whether. Uh, if the sentence is beginning with an auxiliary verb, remember, we'll find more. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This type of interrogative sentences or questions are also known as yes no questions. Auxiliary, which interrogative sentence begin with an auxiliary verb? They usually have connective if or whether, and these are also known as yes or no questions, because these questions most often find the answer yes or no. Let's see. She said, do you want to go out for a meal? I think if I asked you, do you want to go out for a meal? I think you will say, yes, I want to go out for a meal. Or you may say that, no, I don't want to go out for a meal. So the answer is sometimes yes or sometimes no. That's why it can be said as yes no questions. Okay, and the interrogative speech for this one can be, she asked me if I wanted to go out for a meal. You see, uh, here we used asked instead of said, and then me because the question is we assume that the question is making to me, that's why we used me. And do you want to go out for a meal, and we use here if, the connective if or whether, so we use here if, and then you becomes I, because she asked me. You becomes I, and want becomes wanted because reporting verb, that means she said here, she said reporting verb is in past tense, so want become want becomes wanted, and to go out for a meal, the rest is the same. And the word said is usually changed to inquired of or asked. So you can find another one, and it's inquire. So when you use inquire, you have to use up. When you use inquire, you have to use up. But when you use ask, so don't need to use any up. So that's why we have used actually asked. If we use here inquire of, she inquired of me. She inquired of me, but we have used here asked, so we don't need to use of. Okay, full stop or period replaces sign of interrogative or question mark. So there is no question mark in interrogative speech, and here we use just a full stop. Okay, and here are some more examples for your better understanding. You see, yes no questions, changes of yes no questions. We said to him, are you ill? The indirect can be, we asked him if he was ill. Are you ill? We said to him, we asked him, are you ill? So we as this one is yes no question, we have to use if or whether, so we use here if is more common, if. And as this question is making to him, that's why we use subject he, if he. And we usually know that in a statement, uh, subject then verbs, but in question, uh, auxiliary verb then subject. So auxiliary verb or be verb then subject. So this is not a question now in interrogative speech, that's why we use was or be verb or verb after subject. He was ill, so we asked him if he was ill. And next one, yeah, you say to him, you say to me, have you read the article? And in interrogative speeches, you asked me if I had read the article. If I had, have you read? I think you have the basic because you, as I think that you was the first video class of changing narrative style part 1. So you, I think you, I don't need to make you understand about why have become had or have read become had read. Okay, and you know this is the back shift of tenses. Okay. Next one, he said to her, will you go to the program? He asked her if she would go to the program. Will here is changed to would. Okay, next one, she said, do you know me? She asked if I knew her. Do you know? I knew. Okay, next one. Now me change is changed to her. All these things you will find in the changing narrative style part 1. So if you miss the if you missed that video, so you're requested to watch that video first. Okay, come to the next one. I said to him, were you present at the meeting yesterday? I asked him whether he had been present at the meeting the day before or the previous day. And you see here the fundamental rules of changing information questions or WS or how questions. Till now actually we discussed about yes no questions. Now the fundamental rules of changing information questions or WH or how questions, information questions or WH or how questions. Okay, here's an example. When does she come here? Said Faraj. Faraj asked. As this is question, yes, actually here's a mistake. You see, I didn't use question mark, so it's a mistake while making the slide. So I think you have understood it. Okay, fine. When does she come here? Said Faraz. And the interrogative speech is Faraz asked when she went there. When she went there. Come here, went there. Okay. And here is different one. He said to me, how are you? He asked me how I was. How I was. Got it? how I was. How are you? If I use here how was I, then it also becomes question. So what is the change? What is the difference in direct and indirect speech? Always direct speech becomes statement in indirect speech. So we have to ignore question, or we have to make the question mark, and we have to write it in statement. Okay, now see what are the changes. Do, does, and did are omitted. Okay, do, does, did are omitted. Any auxiliary verbs change position, and you see here how are you, how I was. Here are you, uh, auxiliary or the be verb is uh, precede to subject you, or before we use are or be verb before subject you. But here you see was or be verb is used after subject I. So here it said that any auxiliary verbs change position. Here also we see that be verb are was changed position. Okay, and auxiliaries are used after subject, noun, or pronoun. Auxiliaries are used after subject, noun, or pronoun. You see I was, I subject, noun, or pronoun. It's this one is pronoun, so be verb or auxiliary is been used after subject. And what comes next? If or whether is not used. So here you won't find if or whether. You can't use it. It can be used only in yes no questions. Okay, and question mark is omitted. Yes, the question mark is always omitted. And come to the first one. When does she come here? Said for us. Here we use does, but here it says that the rule says that do, does, and did are omitted. So does is omitted, and we use here when the questioner or information question or questioner when, and then subject she, and come became went because we have to change the tense. Come here it could be came, but as this one is narrated by a different person, that's why it said that come becomes go. So here we use here come becomes went, and here is changed to there, so does is omitted. Got it? Do, does, and did are omitted. Does is omitted here. It doesn't say uh, when did she go there, or when she did go there. Does is omitted. Does is an auxiliary verb, so it's omitted, and the principal verb always takes the position. Okay, here are some more examples for your better understanding. You see directed speech and indirect speech. She says, who is he? You see, she says who he is, and here reporting verb is present, so the verb or the tense in speech or quotation is not changed in indirect speech, so it remains the same. That means it remains unchanged. She says who he she says who he is. She says who is he? Here she says who he is. And next one, I said to her, when do you do your homework? I asked her. Said to her, I asked her. Yes, also here is also another mistake. She says who is he? We should use here she asks who he is. Actually it's a mistake while making the slides. Okay, next one. I said to her, when do you do your homework? I asked her when she did her homework. When she did her homework. When do you? When she did her homework. And here this do is auxiliary verb, and that's why do is omitted, and this do is principal verb, that's why here we used did. That means the tense of the speech is changed. Okay, now come to the next one. Teacher said to him, what is your name? Teacher asked him what his name was. Also be verb takes the be verb changes the position after subject. Be verb comes. What is your name? what his name was. That means is becomes was and it takes the position at the last or after the subject. Okay, next one. He said, when will they come? He asked when they would come, or when he asked when they would come. Would is a model. It has no change, and we practiced it in the previous class, so we don't need to explain it today. So next one, come to the next one. She said to him, why didn't you finish the task? She asked him, why remain unchanged? Didn't, had not finished. Didn't you finish? Had not finished. That means past tense, past indefinite became past perfect. Had not finished. Here didn't, that means did not, had not. Okay, had not finished the task. Okay, next last one. She asked his son, why are you crying? And the indirect is she asked her son why he was crying. Are you crying? Was crying. You see here indirect speech. Why are you? Are, that means be verb or auxiliary verb comes before subject, and here you see why he. You becomes he because he asked his son. Son is a male person, that's why he. Why he, and here are, which was before subject, it becomes was, and it's um, after subject, before subject and after subject. He was crying. Okay. uh, okay, now today's review. Let's see what we have learned today. Changing direct speech to indirect speech of imperative sentences, and changing affirmative and negative speech of imperative sentences such as do and don't, etc. And changing direct speech to indirect speech of interrogative sentences, and changing speech of yes or no questions. Okay, changing speech of information or WH or how questions. And examples of direct speech to indirect speech: a lot of imperative sentences with image for better understanding. So here's another one. Examples of direct speech to indirect speech: a lot of interrogative sentences with image for better understanding. So these are the things we've learned today, and um, here are the references. The sources, the materials have been taken from different sources, and these are the sources, and some other sources have not been mentioned here. uh, okay, and I'll suggest you, please try to watch the videos again and again, and remember, repetition always helps you understand better, uh, and any critical or difficult task can become easier to you if you repeat the task. Okay, uh, that's it for today. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.